All right, we'll go ahead and get started if that's okay with you, Kat.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
All right, well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Job Search 101, which is part of our Get That Job webinar series here at the Champaign Public Library. My name is Jordan Neal, and I am the career librarian here at the library, so thank you all for joining us. So for the latest library news and updates, just visit our website, champaign.org, for more information, or you could follow us on social media if that's an option for you. You can email us at librarian@champaign.org, or you could chat with us just by visiting the homepage of our website. So the library is open, and we are also still offering our curbside services. So again, once again, visit our website or give us a call for more information. Moving on to a couple of Zoom features available to you that might help during this particular webinar. There are some buttons or icons at the bottom of your Zoom screen, depending on your device. On the far left, you have the options that control your sound or your speaker. Moving to the right and within the center of the window, there is a chat and raised hand option. You can use these options to ask questions or share any comments. Our instructor, Kat, will pause for questions if needed. We invite you to type your question into the chat or raise your hand, and we can unmute you if you prefer to speak and ask your question. I would also like to remind everyone that our webinars are recorded, so please be mindful when you are sharing your questions and your comments. And then finally, I would like to introduce our presenter, Catherine Purcell, who helps with our career and technology services here at the library. In addition to her work here at the Champaign Public Library, she brings us a wealth of experience from Tampa area public libraries, and I'm so glad she could join us today. So with that, Kat, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Jordan. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, if that's all right.
Sure.
All right. Are you guys able to see my page here?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. And there is my email address if you need to reach out to me or if you have any questions. I'm pretty easily reached via email, so don't hesitate to send one off to me at any time. So I'd like to go ahead and start today with the agenda: searching for jobs, applying for jobs, employment websites, expectations, considerations, and next steps. And with that in mind, I'd like to go ahead and utilize the chat box feature and go ahead and let me know what you are here to learn about today in terms of your job search. So if you have any specific questions or field areas that you're curious about with the job search, go ahead and type those in, and I'm going to go ahead and try and address those and tailor this presentation towards you. I like to keep a kind of conversational webinar, so feel free to jump in with questions at any time. If I don't see your question in the chat box, Jordan will definitely relay it to me. So don't hesitate to let me know. So we're getting some in here. Happy to hear it all. That's great. That's great. I'm going to ask for some questions along the presentation too. So feel free to keep using that chat box as we go. So where to look for jobs? That's, I think, most people's place to start with job searching. Maybe you haven't searched for a job in a long time. Maybe you've been searching, but nothing just seems to be really working out for you. Or maybe you're putting everything out there and hitting all the boxes and just not hearing a whole lot back. So let's focus on where to look for jobs. Today, we're going to focus on online job searches, because right now with the pandemic, we all know that's where most things have moved. And so we're going to go over a few websites to check for those online jobs searches, and we're going to go over some details on what kinds to look out for, since we're just searching online and it's kind of hard to get a good read on a company if you're only visiting their web pages. Okay, so we see here. All right, interested in looking for graphic design and web development jobs. That's great. That's great. It's a good thing, especially with looking online right now. So, question time. Which job search site should you use? Is there one that you should use? I see Indeed. Indeed is a big one. Anything that gets me a job. Yes, that is the right answer. This is kind of a trickily worded question on purpose. There is no real job search site that you should use. I think we've got a whole bunch of them out there right now in the universe, and we're going to go over a lot of the main ones here today. There's also a lot that I'm not going to cover today because there's just too many anymore. And hopefully what we can do is help narrow down which one you should use for the career that you're interested in getting, because that is, I think, some of the best ways to tailor some of those job search sites, so you're not spread out on all of them, because that can be very frustrating and time consuming. So before we even get to the job search, I want to get into some things you should do before you're even searching those sites. So before you're even searching for that job, some things to keep in mind are your resume and cover letter. Are they up to date? Do they need any edits before you submit them? Are they easy to access? Online applications and profiles. This could be from your personal pages to any professional pages that you might have out there. Letters of recommendation. Do you have some contacts you know would be willing to send out those letters for you? And then your job or career hunting list. One of the reasons I like to do this course is the job search is because I myself have been searching for jobs a lot in my life. I went to school for a bachelor's of art and I love it, and I've continued to freelance throughout my life. But you're always kind of searching for that job when you choose art as a career field. And when I relocated to Tampa, I spent about 3 years doing various different job searchings. And I think this is something, that struggle that I went through those 3 years is very applicable to a lot of people right now because of the pandemic, because of layoffs, because of just trying to find that good, safe work environment that we all want to be in, can lead to prompting that job search. And so because I had do a lot of job searching and a lot of job applying, I've got some skills that will help you hopefully avoid the mistakes that I made when I was job searching. So look at our current situations, as I mentioned. So in the April 2021 unemployment rate for Illinois, it is currently at 7.1%. And for Champaign specifically, it is down to 6.3%. So the good news is this time last year, we were up to 20% unemployment in Illinois. And obviously that's gone down a lot. So that's kind of great for you in the job search now because the market out there isn't as desperate. It's not as overcrowded for those candidate positions. So that can be a good thing. So make sure if you're looking for a job now and you're unemployed that you're filing for unemployment insurance. Check out IDES. You should be on that if you're looking for unemployment insurance, and there's a lot of job profile stuff that they've got that will help you out too with that job search. Company research and recent news. So make sure you're checking out some articles and up to date on the company and the field that you're interested in. And then let's go over ways to make sure you can stand out. So retool your resume and cover letter. We offer webinars on that. We also have a couple of databases that will help you do that, like Job Now. And of course, me and Jordan, anytime you just want to send us an email or sign up for a BAL, we'll help you review your resume and cover letter as well. So we're going to go over buffing up online profiles, which is other webinar courses we have specifically on those things too, and then practice on different platforms. You know, different job search platforms have different vibes, and it's kind of good to stay up on that and just kind of see what's going on while you're looking. So also before you're applying to jobs and going ahead and submitting there is, let's look at why you are searching for a job. Maybe you're unemployed and you just need to pay your bills. I think that's a pretty common one. But it's also important, maybe you're not, maybe you're just looking for that better job environment. So make a list of what is your desired career field, what fields are you willing to work in or not willing to work in if you can't get that dream job. What are you willing to settle for? What's your desired salary or hourly range? So it's always great to know like what you expect to be paid, but also what you need to be paid just to be getting by when you're doing that job search. Are you willing to commute for employment? Are you wanting to just work from home and you don't want to go back to an office after the pandemic? How far are you willing to go on that? And then what are the benefits? What are the benefits that the company offers, or what are the benefits that you need for yourself? So what's your end goal here? Short-term versus long-term employment? Just paying bills, financial obligations? Is it just to use the skills that you want to use in life? Are you wanting to grow with this company? And do they match your values, or is that something that you're not even interested in right now? These are all good things to know before you search, so you're not just applying to anything and everything. So further on that, before you apply to a job, maybe you found a job you're interested in applying for, and you want to check out their company. So these are some places to check out just to look at the job field or the specific company. One of my go-tos is the Better Business Bureau. I actually had a customer call the other day asking for the hiring end of things on whether the company they were seeking to hire to help them out on their house was reputable. And so you can go to Better Business Bureau, and they've got great comment sections and information about that company, just to do a little background check on what that job is like, or at least the company that your job might be at. So another one is CareerOneStop, which we'll go over more in detail further on. Specific company websites, definitely check out their website itself and see how it's structured. Glassdoor is another really good one if you haven't heard of Glassdoor. I know someone who's been job searching recently, and they really liked this job description. They thought, that is my dream job. That is what I've been working for the past 15 years, is to get that. First of all, the salary they were willing to offer was phenomenal. It would be a work from home job. They wouldn't have to commute or even go into an office anymore. It just seemed like the perfect job for him. And then he checked out reviews on their Glassdoor website, and unfortunately, they were all pretty terrible job reviews, as from people who had actually worked at that company. So it's always good to check out a Glassdoor if you can. You might also find the reverse. So you might find out that this company is even better than you thought it was. Maybe the job isn't the best, but that sounds like a really great company, and people will post on there that they had great experiences working for them and they highly recommend it. Maybe they've got a great benefits package. So it's always good to check out Glassdoor. Google reviews can even tell you some stuff. LinkedIn is great if you haven't checked out LinkedIn. That's another database we offer, is LinkedIn Learning, which can help you build up your LinkedIn profile. And we'll go into that in a bit. Networking, and check out the public library. Like I said, a lot of these databases we have, and we can help you out on pretty much all angles of the job search. So that was a lot of information all at once. So I'm going to break down into two questions here. Should you apply to the job even if you don't have the degree? And should you apply to the job if you don't have the experience? I'm going to pause a little bit here and see if we can get some answers to either of these questions. I see a maybe. Maybe. All right, I'm going to go ahead and throw out here that from personal experience and from working in this to help other people get their jobs for a while, the answer to both questions is yes. I have my current job working at a library, and I have not yet obtained my master's of library science, and I've got the job. Luckily, they still thought I was the best candidate, and so I was really grateful to be hired here. And I can tell you for sure, if you don't have the degree but you have the experience, it's worth it to go ahead and apply. What's the worst? You're in the same situation you are now, right? So might as well apply. The second question is, should you apply for the job even if you don't have the experience? And the answer is still yes, apply to that job. There are a lot of companies, especially right now, who are very willing to help you train in and give you the tools to be the employee that they'd like you to be. So maybe you don't have the experience in the knowledge base, but they're willing to give that to you because they might recognize that you're the great candidate for that job that they want anyway. So always apply to the job. If it sounds like one you're interested in, go for it. And if you do and they say, hey, you don't have the degree or you don't have the experience, it's great if you get that feedback to go ahead and ask them, what can I do to get that experience? Do you have any recommendations? And you might get, some tips on going to that next job interview prepared. All right, so now we're going to break down into some actual employment websites to check out. So here's a little overview. I'm going to break down each of these ones in detail, and we'll probably talk about a few more that aren't on this list as well, because I've heard a few more of recently. So the first one is CareerOneStop. Here's a little example of their website. They're a great place to check out because they've, as you can see, they specifically have a tab right now on COVID-19 unemployment insurance info, but they also have a lot of different information on exploring careers, finding training, finding local help. As you can see, they've also gotten those further smaller down buttons, going back to work, career changes, specific tools for military and veterans, entry-level workers or older workers. They have a wealth of information for any type of job search that you might be going into right now. So I definitely recommend checking out CareerOneStop because on top of all that, they also have a way to search for jobs on their website. So you don't have to necessarily sign up for them. You don't have to create a profile with them, but you can if you want to, and you could keep all of those resources right there with that one job site. So they are sponsored by the US Department of Labor, which is a big plus too, because it's kind of like condensed and a lot of it's verified and vetted. There's a lot of career options and descriptions. Like I said, it includes a job search filter and local career contact help. And it also has instructional videos and to help you with your hiring chances. So if you're interested in a job, but maybe you're worried you don't have the background that they might be looking for, check out their instructional videos because they've got a lot of great stuff on there too. They also have a subheading there where you can check out the job and career field breakdowns, and it has salary expectations, which also sometimes tailors to based on the cost of living where you're looking for that job. So there's some really great stuff there. The next one I'm going to go to is Illinois Job Link. So this is one you might be familiar with if you are if you filed out your stuff with IDES or you're on Illinois unemployment right now. So this is a website that you'll need to use and check out for them. They have a great job search tool on their website, which gives you a lot of different filter options, as you can kind of see here. Now this screenshot is from a year ago, so it's going to look a little bit different now, but they've got that breakdown of where those jobs might be, what you might be interested in, and ways to filter and refine your search. So it is, as I said, managed by the Illinois Department of Employment Security. It offers local vetted job listings. You can create an account and a resume directly on the site. And it's also required to receive the unemployment insurance benefits. So it's a great source for any job seeker. They've got resume guide resources and interview assistance as well. And there's a local job center connected to it with adult education workshops. So it's always a great one to keep in mind that we are under the pandemic right now, so they might have some limited resources right now, but I know that they're good to reach out to as well. So the one we talked about earlier, I think a lot of people's go-to right now is Indeed. I like to recommend Indeed because it's kind of like a great one-stop for just about any type of job seeker. It's got a very simple, clean design. You can log in and upload your resume directly. So I know that a lot of jobs on there will have like a one-click stop. So you can just like click that apply now button and it'll automatically put in your resume if you've got it uploaded. It has a lot of resume resources on there and it's got a great search filter. So very simple design. You can create your account right on there, apply to all kinds of jobs, just about any industry is on that site. And it's also got a lot of articles to help you prepare for an interview or design a resume too. It's not as commonly noticed. I'm going to flip back here on the slide because towards the bottom, once you're signed in, there is like a help section that's got company reviews and certifications needed for specific jobs, as well as just career advice. So it can be really helpful for that. It gives you job alerts right in your inbox. I will say one downside of using Indeed is maybe you're getting too many emails for them. So definitely when you sign up, make sure you check out the notifications and the settings list because they will email you every day and they might not necessarily apply to the jobs you're looking for. But it does give you the option to narrow down by your location, your salary, your job type, your company experience level, and filter by any combination of the above, which is really helpful. So also wanted to talk about LinkedIn. This kind of used to be the go-to for like a professional like Facebook, where it was your profile and you've got kind of a breakdown of a resume, and they've expanded to so much more. They have job searching available on LinkedIn. You can create and download your resume right on LinkedIn. Recruiters are on LinkedIn. So if you've got settings set that you're open to job opportunities, recruiters can look for you based on the content that you set in your profile. Though it's also a good way to scout out companies, because it's not just individual profile pages. Companies have their profiles on LinkedIn as well. So you can check out the company profile before you apply to the job and just kind of see the things that are going on with that company and the things that they post. A lot of them, depending on the field, aren't necessarily active on their LinkedIn pages, but it's always good to check it out and just kind of see what they have going on. LinkedIn is also a great place for connecting right now. So we all know we're kind of limited to doing physical in-person networking events. LinkedIn is the place to go for that. So because you can join different clubs, you can join your alumni network, you can join any interest field group, and then there's usually comments and conversations going on in those groups. It also has a profile option, so you can control your content settings. Maybe you are searching for a job, but you don't want to make it obvious right now. So definitely check out the control settings on a LinkedIn, and those kind of change every so often. So it's always good to check those out and make sure those are up to date with what you're looking for. And LinkedIn also has LinkedIn Learning, which is the database I mentioned earlier that we have access to. So if you have a Champaign library card, you can have access to LinkedIn Learning, which is all kinds of professional videos, ways to improve your transferable skills, all those soft skills that people want in an employee, like you're compassionate, but you're also assertive. You know, it has ways to check out specific field created stuff. So I saw earlier, we've got somebody here who looks for graphic design jobs and web development jobs. LinkedIn Learning has a whole bunch of webinars and videos on graphic design and different platforms, and maybe you're up to date in using all of those platforms, but there's still a lot of great stuff on there for graphic design and Photoshop and all kinds of different stuff. So definitely check them out if you've got access to it. Monster is another good one. It's kind of fallen out a little bit compared to Indeed, but it's a very similar setup. So it's got all those filters. It's for people who are hiring, but also for the individual job seeker. It also has the ability to submit and upload resumes. One of the things about Monster is, since it's not quite as used as Indeed, there's kind of some more, there's less emails that you'll get in your inbox, but there's also a more niche job field there. It also has the option to hide your profile if you're currently employed, but you can keep all that information on there until the next time you're looking for a job. And there's all kinds of filtering options for salary, location, job type, and more. So a couple more that I've heard about recently is Simply Hired. And this is just a little bit about what their job site looks like. So they have also the option for people who are looking for employees and employees to search for jobs. It's also got a very simple design. You can sign in and create an account. It gives you the breakdown very clearly, as you can see from this one with the agribusiness analysis tax consultant job, where it's got right away, it's showing you where it's at. The job description is full-time, the estimated salary, benefits included. So it's a very cleanly designed site, which makes it really easy to do that job search. It's also got a great search engine. It's very comparable to Indeed, and it's really easy to filter all those different locations. And you can set up different alerts based on what you're interested in. Next one I've heard about recently is Snagajob, which is another great tool, just like very similar to Indeed and Simply Hired. So it starts right off with that filter option. I know the good thing about Snagajob is you don't necessarily have to create a profile to look at jobs in detail there. A lot of times they'll take you directly to the company's website to apply. So if you don't want to have to mess with creating a profile, you don't have to. And it's also really up to date. It's got very clear job descriptions, and it is geared more towards hourly work, however. So now to apply to them, you do have to create an account if it doesn't redirect you to the company website. But it's also got job matching. I've heard that their job matching is great. Like if you set up your profile to say that you're interested in these specific fields, it's going to target only those job fields. And I know Indeed isn't as great at doing that. So that was a lot, again, all at once. Let's take a few minutes to take a little deep breath. And before we go into the next section, tell me what some of your ideas are on the best way to network. And maybe you're not sure on the best way to network, so that's what you're here for. Networking can have a lot to do with the job search. Especially right now, networking can be tricky. I see here that we've got to network virtually recently. Yeah, join a local or online professional organization. Yeah. So we do know that right now, networking virtually is kind of the way to go right now. And there are still a lot of ways to do that. I know that at first that seemed kind of a little scarier, especially to people who aren't as familiar with doing their networking virtually, but I think there's actually a lot of great ways to do that. One of the things that is coming up in common right now is it's not always easy to find those jobs listed online. Since they're only listed online right now, there are often a lot of jobs that are available but not necessarily posted online, and so that's where networking virtually really can come in handy. So yeah, just like we talked, it's like somebody mentioned, joining a local or online professional organization is a great way to do that and make those connections. So it's tricky because maybe you're not ready to, make it very public that you're looking for a job, which networking online can be kind of scary for. But the great thing about networking online is you can network literally anywhere. I know people who have found their next job through Facebook hobby groups. I know people who have found their next job through LinkedIn groups, because they're just a part of those private groups for different field interests. I know people who have been recruited online just based on their profiles and having those public settings. I know I was approached by a recruiter on LinkedIn and I didn't even have it set to say I was looking for a job because I'm not looking for a job. And they still reached out to me and said, hey, this might be an opportunity you're interested in. So there's lots and lots and lots of different ways to network, even virtually. So that does include those local job clubs or those local business organizations. Maybe it includes being a part of some of the groups we offer here at the library. They could be those hobby groups, and you just mentioned you're kind of looking for a job, or that's a position you might be interested in, and then someone later says, I heard so-and-so's company is looking for somebody like you. You should go ahead and apply. And that could be your networking. So I remember when I was right outside of school, I was very nervous about the idea of networking. It seemed very intimidating. It seemed like the social situation. I didn't tend to be in a room with a bunch of strangers, and luckily when you kind of look at networking virtually, it kind of takes that fear out of it, because you don't necessarily have to feel like you're in that room full of a bunch of strangers and hoping it will lead to a job. So keep your options open, and like I said, you can really network virtually anywhere in any organization. So how to prepare your profile. So you've looked at what kind of job information you're interested in. You've narrowed down which website you want to use, or maybe the combination of websites you want to use to search for that job. You've figured out, what things you're willing to settle for and which areas you aren't. What's the next step? So the next step would be preparing your resume. Make sure your resume is ready to hand out at any moment. The next one I like to do is talk about a summary pitch. So people will often refer to this as your elevator pitch, and those are kind of the same thing. A lot of people are gearing their objective statement on their resume to be more of a summary, and I think that's a really great way, especially if you're changing career fields, to just kind of narrow down what are your skills that are going to be great and transferable to any position you might want to get. So narrow down that summary pitch so that you could just tell anybody you're interested in talking to about a job, like what your skills are and what you could do for them. The other thing is to change your location settings. So that's not just in the online profiles that you might have, but in any other place too. Like you never know whether having your Facebook say where you live could be a benefit or not, and if you tend to keep your Facebook private so that job seekers or job employers can't see it, you can toggle that on or off too, because maybe you're applying out of state, and so that's something to be aware of too. And then social media profiles, like I was just saying, you know, check your Facebook if you're public or not, check your Instagram, your Twitter, as well as your LinkedIn site, because chances are that hiring manager is going to Google your name, and it's just always good to be aware of what's going to come up when they do search for you. It's also good to know, you know, if you don't come up at all, if you do search for you. I know if you search for Catherine Purcell on Google, you're going to get a doctor, and I am definitely not in the medical field at all. So it's still good to know what comes up when you search for yourself, because the hiring managers will be searching for you too. So here are some search tips. Have a clear career goal in mind so you know what terms to include in your job search. Google can be a great job search tool. Research the company from your own homepage, from their homepage, from social media, and set alerts for when they post. If it's a graphic design, that might be a good thing to know. You know, keep an eye out for the types of graphic design the companies you want to work for are doing so that you're staying relevant. And then set time limits for your search. So when I was really searching for lots of jobs in Tampa, I ran into the problem of thinking that, like, I needed to be searching for a job as many hours as I should have been working at a job because I was unemployed. And that ended up just burning me out. It is very difficult to spend 8 hours a day searching for a job. It also led me to end up applying to like literally any job I could find and hoping I was qualified for it, or being overqualified and applying to the jobs anyway just to try and get something. And then I was wondering which interview I was showing up to which week, and that was a mess too. So I don't recommend that route. So on that note, Google can be a great job search tool. So I'm gonna change my screen share here and show you how I use Google. Now this is from a demo account, so it's not necessarily going to show some stuff that your Google might look like, but I like to use Google Drive for a lot of things. One of the things I ended up doing when I was job searching was creating an Excel sheet that helped me keep track. So when I said, you know what, searching for jobs 8 hours a day and just applying to anything I see isn't sustainable. So let me keep a track of what I've been doing. So a good way to do this is just create a spreadsheet. You might put in the job description as a heading, and then maybe the company name, put in their website, as well as maybe a link to the job. Maybe keep track of the salary that they're offering or benefits, and then keep track of date applied. Maybe you want to keep track of whether you have tailored your resume to match their job description, cover letter, and you can just like tick these boxes to keep track of your job search. And that's like a really easy way to just have a digital record of this. We have spreadsheets like this, and I have a tool already made. So if this is something that you maybe aren't as familiar with in terms of Google Drive, I guess I maybe should do a little demo to show how you get there. So if you're in your email, if you have Gmail, if you don't, you can get a Gmail address pretty free. You're going to look for these these 9 dots up in the corner here, right, your profile picture, and then just go to Drive. From there, click New, and you're just going to create a new Docker Sheets. So this is what a job search looks like. I'm going to pause right there because I realized I just did that really quickly. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and pop them in. If you want me to demo that again, let me know before I do the next example of what I like to use Google for in terms of a job search. And this isn't necessarily just restricted to Google. I'm using Google because that's what I have here handy, and a lot of people are familiar with it, but you can also do this in Microsoft, or if you have a Hotmail account or an Outlook account, you can just create a spreadsheet in there in the OneDrive as well, and it does essentially the same thing. So yeah, if you have any questions or want me to demo that again, let me know. And if not, I'm going to go ahead and go back to showing you how you can also easily use Google as a job search tool. So if you start right off at the Google search bar, you can use it as a job search. So you see the tools, it pops up right away, like pizza delivery, restaurants nearby. So there's all kinds of stuff there that it suggests, but you can also use it as a job search. So very simply, you could put hiring in Champaign, Illinois, and let's see what pops up. So ZipRecruiter is another really big one that I know people are using right now. But if you scroll down just a little bit past the ads, you'll see jobs near Champaign, Illinois. So we see that there's retail associate just posted 11 days ago. A month ago, there was a store associate in the Marketplace Shopping Center at Finish Line, production helper. So that's just a basic jobs near Champaign, Illinois option. There's the option to save jobs. You see there's one already saved. So here we see, oh, this one's expired, but there was a job saved that we were interested in for Champaign Post Office. And that gives you kind of a way to set up that list as well of the jobs you're interested in. So we can unsave that one since that's expired. We could also set up alerts. So you can set Google to send you alerts on new jobs. You can also do it by career field. So maybe you're interested in freelance jobs. We can just do freelance in Champaign and see what pops up. Now, a lot of things are going to pop up because this is just freelance and not specifically graphic design, but I wanted to give you an option of how it can tailor those settings pretty easily. So you can see right up the top here, it gives me the option to see all freelance options, but we can narrow it down to bookkeeper, photographer. You could put graphic design in there to see what works for that. And we can see at a glance that this one was posted 6 days ago. Here's one posted a day ago for a freelance photographer. And at the top here, we can also see ways to narrow that down where we can change it by location. How far are you willing to go? 2 miles all the way up to 200 miles. Do you only want to look at work from home options? You can see date posted, any of the job requirements like degree or experience, and then what type of job, full-time or part-time, and just look at the employer's options. So those are just a little demo about how you can use Google pretty easily for your job search without having to sign in to anything extra. So that is Google. I'm going to change my share back to the slide here. All right, I think we're back to the slide here. Are we able to see the slide?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Just wanted to make sure before going on. Okay, so as I mentioned on that last one, set time limits for your job search. So maybe 8 hours is just fine for you, and you want to spend 8 hours a day applying to everything, and that's great. I would say put that limit in there though, because when you're searching from home or you're currently unemployed, it can be really easy to blur those lines between personal time and job search time, and that can really just build anxiety. So I definitely recommend putting a time limit on your job search each day, or at least maybe doing a checkoff list. Maybe you're not even going to restrict it to time, because it's hard to when websites want you to upload your resume and then immediately type it into every single box again. So maybe you just want to make it to like apply to 3 jobs today or something like that, because it's definitely not sustainable to only be applying to jobs. It's going to burn you out no matter what your personal goal time is. So it's good to set some kind of limit on there, because you got to take care of yourself as well, or else you're not going to be bringing your best self to the job interview process. So now that we've done some job searching, let's make sure we're looking at legitimate opportunities. We all might know right now, or you don't, and I don't want you to find out the hard way, that there are some illegitimate job opportunities out there, especially if you're using places like Indeed or Craigslist. They do post job search opportunities, but sometimes they're not legitimate. So here's some things to look out for so that you're not applying to those kind of sketchy job applications. So check what their required and volunteer information is. Check if they have fees or upfront payments. Check their financial information. Like I said, check them out on the Better Business Bureau. Sometimes that stuff is posted there. Check out position promises. This means like maybe they're going to promise the position to you if you sell X number of their product by X dates of being employed by them, then they'll give you a promotion. Those kinds of things might be legitimate, but it should raise some red flags. Check out any information that they're unwilling to put into writing. So maybe they're calling you about a job posting you saw, but some of the things they're saying on the phone don't quite match what you were reading in the job description. It's totally acceptable to ask them to send you an email, or maybe talk to you a little bit further with that job position description. And then also perform some research. Like I said, check out the Better Business Bureau, check out Glassdoor, look at their website, and check out their LinkedIn if they have it. And if they don't show up on any of those things, that's also a little concerning, because in this day and age, it's just very rare for a company to not have some kind of online presence that looks good. If you're not sure, always give us a call and ask us. We have some databases like Mergent Intellect or Reference Solutions that will give you a breakdown of some of the financial information about these companies and their physical location, as well as phone number, or even the CEO will come up on that job search, and so we can find out if some of these locations or job descriptions are reliable. Another thing to look at before you actually apply, or after you actually apply, it can be a nerve-wracking time. So don't underestimate the option to volunteer. Don't estimate the timing, or sorry, let me rephrase that. Maybe you're not sure about the timing. Double check the job description to see if they have a time limit for when they'll get back to you. If they don't, totally feel free to call them and ask them what the timeline is for that job posting. Or how long is it going to be open? When should you expect to hear from them for an interview once it is closed? Check the networking sites we talked about. See if you can connect to any of the people who might currently work there. Maybe you can ask them for their experiences, or see if you have any common connections on LinkedIn. That would be a great way to talk to somebody who actually works there and see if you can get yourself in a little bit more. Research the company, find out a little bit more about them. I know that it impresses a lot of hiring managers when you come to that interview prepared to know exactly what they do at their company and how your skills match with what they want to do. That is one of the key things that hiring managers are going to want to look for. So learn as much as you can. Don't be afraid to take up some hobbies. It's going to be a good way to take care of yourself, and it could lead to transferable skills that will apply to your next job. What are some other things to expect when job searching? Always remember, there is no set path. I think this is the thing about job searching that frustrates people the most. It isn't necessarily like you can check off the box that you applied, check off the box that your resume looks good, check off the box that your cover letter looks good, and be guaranteed the interview. It's really unfortunate, but it doesn't always work out very smoothly like that. Your job path isn't going to look like a series of boxes that check off and then bam, you've got the job. It could be zigzaggy all over the place, and it can be very frustrating because there is no clear timeline for when you're going to get that job. I've had situations where I've applied to a job and it's been a month since I even heard back, so I figured they weren't even interested in me, and then they called me in for an interview because the person they had in mind didn't end up taking the job, and so I was next on the list for interview, and I ended up getting the job. I've also had situations where I interviewed for a job and walked out of it thinking I totally did not get that job. I didn't hear from them for over a month, assumed I did not get the job. And then they called me back and offered the job and just said, yeah, we're ready to take you in. We'd love to have you. And I was totally shocked because I figured I didn't have it. So there's no clear timeline. You just never know with companies what their hiring process looks like. Look at your skills and experience and education. Change your resume around. Maybe the company has a couple different positions open, and tailor your resume for both of those if you really want to work for that company, and maybe the job positions don't necessarily, you could work for either one. Look at your transferable skills. So maybe your career, like mine, before working at libraries, was kind of all over the place. I worked in museums, I worked with kids, I worked with the Boy Scouts, I worked in art galleries, and it was kind of all over the place. But I had a lot of transferable skills because for all those things, I worked with teaching and educating people, and all of those jobs, I had great customer experience because I worked with a range of people from ages and backgrounds, and those are key points that are going to help you at just about any job. So have a flexible plan. Try to have a plan, like I'm going to apply to these jobs by this time, but keep it flexible. You know, make sure that you know that we're all human, including the people who are doing the hiring. So just be flexible with it. Remember, that's the kind of the reality of it. And remember too, you can learn from all experiences. Never underestimate your volunteering or your hobby groups, because those can all lead to common interests you might have with somebody who's interested in hiring you. They might lead to, oh, you know, I see that the job description is this, but I think this skill might apply, and I've got extensive knowledge in that skill, and I could use it in this job. That's going to be a great thing to look at for working into your interview if you get it. So in the meantime, make sure that resume is ready. Make sure your applications are in check. You're checking out employment websites. Use your cloud storage like the Google Drive or your Microsoft OneDrive. Check out those different opportunities to see how they might apply to what you're interested in doing in life. And then, you know, keep your application tracking. A lot of places have a application field where you can see where your application status is, you know, stay up to date on that. Check out companies and dates and notes, whatever requirements they might have for the job. If you don't meet the requirements, check out, you know, how flexible they might be on them. And volunteer in the meantime is great self-care. It's great. It could lead to a channel to getting paid. You never know. If you've got a great volunteer experience with a company and then they have a position open up, that's your chance to see if they might be willing to just keep you because they have the experience of working with you already and you know the job. So apply. It's a great way to make connections and network with people. And it also, like I said, is great self-care. It'll help you relax you and keep other skills relevant. So here's another question time. How do you avoid becoming stressed while job searching? And then from there, we'll just kind of go into a general Q&A as well. So I know we are close to time here. We've got about 10 minutes left. So I want to open the floor for any questions. And in the meantime, also, let me know how you avoid becoming stressed while job searching. For me, my big hobby when I was looking for all those jobs was to take up running. It was a great way for me to like mentally check out, physically push myself. And I started out just training for a 5K, and now I love it. I love running. It is a great stress reliever for me, and I'm hoping to do the marathon whenever we get that back up in terms of physical distance. Netflix is great too. Yeah, we all love a good show. There's always a good trending show on Netflix. So it's fun to, you know, see what's going on, see what people are interested. I love Netflix's new feature where it tells you like what's popular in your area. I think that's really cool. And then biking is another physical activity. Yeah, biking is a good one. It's also, you know, a stress reliever and helps keep you active. And now that it's starting to warm up, it's beautiful weather for biking. Do we have any other questions? Any other ideas? Maybe you're that person who's stressed and you're not sure right now what you could do to be less stressed while you're job searching. I'm going to go ahead and flip to the, see if I can flip to the beginning slide there, so our contact information is there again. Or you can send me an email if you need to lately, as we're waiting to close out for this. But yeah, feel free to keep those ideas coming. Another big one I am a big fan of is, like I said, planning. It's turned into a bit of an obsession, but I like to, it's hard when you're not working to feel like you've accomplished things. So making lists is a stress reliever for me, because I can say, oh, well, I did apply to these jobs. Oh, I also mopped the floor. Good job. You know, taking care of those little to-do lists can be a good motivator and a stress reliever.
Well, thank you, Kat. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, which is actually this kind of the same thing you already had here. So if we have any other, feel free again to type in your questions into the chat. Oops. We have a chat, I think, here.
Oh, I do. Let's see here. Mixed reviews of the freelance site Upwork. Do you have any thoughts or experience? Yes, Jordan, did you take over screen sharing?
Yeah, let me stop. I'll stop.
Okay. And that's fine. No, that's fine. You can have yours up, because I want to do a refresher on Upwork, because I think I've worked with it in the past, but it's been a long time. Like I said, I did get my undergrad in art as well. And I do still freelance, but I don't actually use Upwork. So let me review it here. Yeah. Yeah, this I think this was the same one. I did sign up for them a long time ago. It's tricky with freelancing, because you never know what you're going to get. I'm lucky enough in that, like, I have a great day job here at the Champaign Public Library. So the freelancing I take right now is really just if I'm really interested in a project. So I've got some clients that come to me regularly, and I kind of just go with them right now. And I'm very lucky in that I don't have to expand outside of that. But I know places like Upwork can be, they can be really beneficial. It can also be really difficult, because you can get some pretty great people to work with on there, but you can also get, you know, it can look like a better job than it's going to turn out to be. So that's why I think really making sure that you're Googling job offers in there, and checking out some background information on whatever company or individual is working to hire you. If you can do some deep diving on them to see what it is before you take the job. I'm also a big fan of contracts and dates when it comes to freelancing. So, and it doesn't have to be something formal. It can really just be like an email chain of like, I am going to have this done for you by this date. I would like to be paid half up front, stuff like that. Because I've had that happen to me personally with freelancing, where I started out being really worried that the people who were commissioning me were gonna not want to commit to the money up front before I had a product for them. So I like to set a precedence when I do freelancing with you know, I'm going to send you sketches by this time if it's date based, and then you can pay me a third of the money by this point. And it just kind of depends on it. I've also, because I did have one time where I didn't take any money up front, and I painted this pretty large acrylic painting out of a subject area I wasn't even really interested in myself, so I did not want to keep it after I didn't get paid, and it was kind of tricky. So don't be afraid to start right up front. The right person on Upwork is going to want you because you're coming up front with like, I expect, you know, this kind of work to be done by this kind of payment by this kind of date, because that is professional. And if they're hesitant to do anything like that, then that would be a good red flag for maybe they're not the best client to work with. Does that kind of address your concerns with Upwork? It can be really tricky freelancing because, yeah, you never really know what you're going to get or if it's going to pay off. But that's been a little bit of my personal experience with freelancing. If you had a specific thing you're concerned about, feel free to put that in the chat. Or if you want to raise hand and just speak and have a conversation, that's cool with me too. I hope I answered your question. It's okay. Freelance locally, but not dived in. Yeah, and it can be really tricky. That's why I really, when I set up stuff with clients, I really like to have an email chain going. And sometimes they might be more familiar with chat or doing, you know, if you're really active on social media, having like just be distant direct messages or something, like, which that's fine. Worst case scenario, you know, you get taken advantage of. That's why it's good to have that that email chain or paper trail of the conversation and what's been agreed with. Sending sketches, or if you don't work in a physical media sense, maybe you do like Photoshop and stuff, like having rough drafts just to show them, hey, I am working on this. So, you know, if you could, you know, bring some money, that'd be great. And then I'll finish it up and then we'll settle the total cost. I think that's the best way I'd recommend it with online work. As it is, you just kind of do have to play it by ear based on the client.
Yeah, and I think that also emphasizes the importance of networking in general and just checking in with people in your same industry or field and saying, like, what do you think of this? And what have your experiences been? Things like that. So
absolutely. One of the best things of advice I got when I became less scared of networking was when somebody told me, don't think of networking as trying to like brown nose with the big guys. Think of networking as just having conversations with your peers. And that's been the greatest way for me to look at networking, because it's true. You're working and talking with people who are already on your level or the level you hope to be at if you're not quite there yet, and just stay engaged with them. Talk to them online, ask them questions. Most people are very eager to share their knowledge, especially in the art community. It's becoming less and less of a, you know, keep your salary secret kind of thing, or keep your best practices secret kind of thing, keep your brush tools secret kind of thing. So people are more willing to share their experiences. So if you're making those connections with people who are already on a similar to level to you, you know, that's going to be a great way to pool information. And if they end up getting bigger and having a great following, they're going to know you and recognize you and give you those tips so that you can get there too. It shouldn't be a competition. It should be a way to help each other, because we all have our own voices and our own talent skills. And that's not just applicable to art. That's in any field. We don't have to be each other's competition.
Exactly. And vice versa. If you end up becoming a big star, you might be the one
exactly
this information. So yeah, I just think of networking as information sharing too, you know, just don't think of it as more than it is. Well, thank you, Kat. And again, if you have any more questions, feel free to type them into the chat. I have had Kat's information here for what else. Hopefully you've written it down. Our next career, first, thank you again, Kat. That was
Thank
great.
you. Yeah, thank you.
So our next career webinar will be Wednesday, May 19th at 2 p.m. It will be we kind of have a sub-series going on called Ask an Employer, and this time will be Stacy Rachel from the city of Champaign. So they'll be joining us just to be sharing kind of their insights and answering questions. And then I have the rest of the May series listed here. After that, we have job searching in uncertain times. Yeah, and we have a lot more webinars. Beyond career, we have our technology webinars, business, writers workshops, crafty adults, things like that. So just visit champaign.org/events for more information. And let's see, and here's our contact. If you didn't see Kat's information, you could still email librarian@champaign.org. And it will get forwarded to Kat. We'll find a way to connect you with us. And like we said, we're still offering that Book a Librarian service virtually. Usually it's Zoom, but we can meet through a platform of your choice, like Skype or something like that. Just reach out to us and we can talk to you one-on-one. And, you know, of course the workshops are great, but with the Book a Librarian service, we can kind of give you a customized experience. So, all right, let me start my video. I thought I had my, there I am. All right, anything else to add, Kat?
No, I don't have anything. Thanks for hosting me again, and thanks to everyone for attending. So it's always great to share some job search tips and stress relief.
Yes. All right, well, I don't see any further questions, and it is 3 o'clock, so I'll go ahead and I'll end the webinar. I hope everyone has a great afternoon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.